Welcome back to the Shop Mini RC, everybody. I'm Ken, and today we are looking at these guys. Now, they've been out for a little bit. We just got ours. We're going to go ahead and show a quick install into a completely stock AX24. There you go, completely stock. And that's one of the cool things about this truck is the new electronics for the AX24 have a channel 2, just like the V1 SCX24 electronics. So now you can basically install a brushless without having to change out your transmitter receiver. So that is super cool. It's the easiest, cheapest way to go brushless on one of these guys. I think one of the things that holds people back from upgrading to brushless sometimes is they don't want to have to buy a new receiver or transmitter. And so being able to keep that, which we love because we're always loaning out trucks, and you know, if all of our trucks are on one transmitter receiver, it's hard to share. So we like to share our trucks and keep the stock receivers and transmitters on there if we can. So that makes us super happy that this truck came with it. The Furitek setup right here comes with a bunch of stuff to make it work in this AX24 chassis, which is very, very tight in there. It does come with a micro Komodo, and the micro Komodo is tiny, but it still needs a little bit more room, so there's some solutions in here for that, and we're going to look at that here in a second. Let's go ahead and open these up and see what they're about. So the first box here comes with the transmission mount or motor mount and the micro Komodo. Pretty typical. This is the same micro Komodo we're all used to. This is the 12-12-3450. And basically what that means is it's a 12-pole design, and it's a 3450 kV motor. So pretty high kV motor, but it is an outrunner. Tons of torque in this little guy. It has a super thin 0.2 millimeter stator laminations, which causes lower eddy losses and maximizes the efficiency of the motor. So that's good. It also comes with high-end, high RPM ABEC5 bearings, and then a precision balanced rotor and machined heatsink can. Right there, it's a 6061 T6 billet aluminum. So nice machining there. And that can basically is going to help dissipate heat and maximize the efficiency of the motor there. So super good motor. We use them in a ton of different things, not just this guy, and they're pretty proven at this point. And this motor is 2S and 3S capable. Its max current's 10 amps, and it only weighs like 17.5 grams. It's a pretty light motor for the amount of power that it's got. So we're excited to get this in here. Next up is going to be the ESC and the motor plate or skid plate. So there we go. It's the Lizard Pro AX24. Now this guy comes in I believe this is a printed case. Yeah, it's a plastic case. So keeps everything nice and tight and clean. Also, the Bluetooth is built in, which is awesome. Not the biggest fan of the Bluetooth dongle. We've got one right here. They just kind of hang off, and they're a little messy. So when you can get it into a nice compact little space and build it onto the board, yes, 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 yes. Very, very good. This is our receiver wire, our battery wire, which you can plug the battery straight into the case if you have the length on your battery cable. This just gives you a little bit extra. And then our motor wire there, our motor port. Now this skid is key to the whole thing here, guys. This skid is what drops the motor and transmission down just enough, just about 2 to 3 millimeters. Let's go ahead and measure this. We're at 4 millimeters there, but realistically, there's material and whatnot, and so it's probably dropping at 3 millimeters total, maybe 3.5. And that gives you just enough room inside this chassis, this super tight chassis, to be able to have an outrunner motor. Because remember, this spins. So you need to have some good clearance to make sure you're not rubbing on anything. And this is the key to that puzzle. Super nice billet aluminum. One of the other things is it slightly shifts the transmission over just a little bit, centers it a little more, centers the motor a little bit more. So that's nice as well. And overall, not just making the space, but dropping down the center of gravity is going to help too. So that'll be pretty cool. And it should just tuck right in real nice, flow right into our side boat skids here. So we're going to get that in there as well. Now this ESC can be used for brushed or brushless. Obviously we're going to be using it for brushless here. It also has the FOC or field oriented control. It's a 5 volt to 6.5 volt, 2.5 amp built-in BEC. So that's nice for the upgraded servos and the fact that you're running dual servos, front and rear steering on this guy. It's also 2S and 3S, just like always. It's basically a Lizard Pro. It's just with the Bluetooth built in and a nice compact case. It's also got real-time telemetry up to 10 hertz. So it's got a constant current of 30 amps and then a burst current of 50 amps. It's also got a built-in physical on and off switch, which is really nice because we like to leave our ESC set to on and then just use the battery as the power switch essentially. And when it's got those push button types, you have to be able to access the button. So if you tuck this guy way deep inside your build, you have a hard time reaching the power switch. That kind of makes it difficult. So the physical switch is awesome. And this guy weighs just about 3.7 grams. So pretty awesome. It's also 28 millimeters by 15.5 millimeters, if you want to know the dimensions. And it does come with some hardware, so that's nice. Probably because you need longer screws is my guess. I'm not totally sure. Either way, if you're building from scratch, building something up from scratch, it's always nice to get extra hardware. Sucks when you're missing a couple screws that come with a part and you've got to go to a screw kit. So super nice. I really appreciate that. Let's get this guy apart. Should be a super easy to do thing. Just basically pulling this guy out is going to be these 4 bolts, and then your transmission off the skid plate's going to be the 2 bolts on the top and the 1 bolt on the inside. So let's get it apart. And here we can look at the skids. We'll compare it. So you can see here the offset that the transmission is going to have. So we were sitting like so. Now we're going to be sitting like so. Okay, quite the difference. So we're off to the side a little bit there. It's because the motor is going to be on the other side now versus this guy here pushing it all the way like that. Okay. Now we'll go ahead and pull the transmission apart, pull out the screws there. I'm going to be pulling the cover off. So your motor mount bolts are 1.5, but we do not need that because we're going to be pulling the whole plate off. You will need your 4mm box to pull off your spur. Remember the orientation of this spur when you put it back on. This larger side goes in. Okay. Always put it face down, and then we can pull our motor mount plate off of our transmission and put on our new Furitek one. Okay. On our Furitek motor mount, there's 2 Phillips head screws that need to come out. And then our motor plate can go back on. Spur goes right back on. Remember, the larger side inward. Be careful not to over tighten your spur. Always just make sure you feel it and make sure it feels nice and smooth. If you over tighten the spur, it'll get a little tight in there, and you don't really want that. It's just extra resistance. And resistance is futile, except for when it breaks your ESC or motor. All right, let's get this, put this plate back on. No, actually, yeah, we can throw this guy back on. Now this is a first. Our little nut here for the spur is rubbing on our carbon fiber plate. So we're going to loosen these guys up just a little and see if we can like slide the plate over. There we go. Yeah. So we're just going to hold the plate as we tighten it down, pushing it away from our spur. There we go. So just be aware of that as well. Always check things and make sure things are moving nice and free and smooth. Now we can go ahead and throw our drive shaft back on. And everything's clear and free. Seems good. Now as far as the motor's concerned, we try to put our motor wire going towards the center of the truck. You can mount it however you want, but we like to kind of go this way towards the center versus out the side or toward the bottom here. If we were doing a full build, there might be a reason to put it out towards the bottom, just for keeping the wires clean and things of that nature. But for this guy, we're just going to do it out the top. It does already come with a pinion installed, so that's nice. And then since we're using the stock plastic spur, we do not need to grease it up at all. These guys run fine with no grease. I feel like our pinion needs to be moved forward just a tad here. I'm trying to see our mesh in there. It's kind of hard to see. Sorry, guys. It looks like it needs to be, maybe not. It looks like it's level, actually. Just trying to make sure the pinion and the spur are totally lined up. Oh yeah, they're good. Maybe a little forward, but I'm not going to mess with it. I think we're fine. Now you will need that 1.5 for your motor mount screws here. And just be real careful when you're doing your mesh. We like to get our screws in and then just keep them loose enough to where we can move it around and get our, wire positioned how we want and our mesh as close as we can. And then we start to tighten it down. Be aware when you tighten these screws down, it will move your mesh. So just make sure you're testing, backing the screws off, readjusting your mesh, testing, backing the screws off, readjust your mesh. You should be able to feel it, and you can kind of see it if you hold the motor and spin the transmission from the bottom. You can kind of see we've got a little bit of play in there, and that's kind of exactly what we're looking for. You don't want too much, because then it's going to put resistance and a more excessive wear on your spur. And if you have too little, you can end up stripping. Yeah, that seems good. Maybe a little tighter. So we'll back this guy off, try to push it down a little bit. Can also pull away depending on this, the direction of the screw. All right, let's loosen both of them. And it's just kind of trial and error. You can see now we've still got a little bit of play in there, just not quite as much. Nice and smooth. We're nice and tight. Not over tightening, you don't want to strip it, but tight enough to where it's not going to move. And yeah. Seems good. All right, enough with the mesh. We can now mount this guy on our skid plate. Got our 3 screws back in. Make sure you don't over tighten. You can crack your case here or break the screw off inside the aluminum on this top one, so just be careful there. Everything feels nice and smooth. I really like this skid plate. It's got the chamfered edges here, and we'll see how well it transitions into the boat skids, but I think it's going to be pretty good. Right, and we've used all stock hardware so far. We haven't used any of their hardware except for the 2 motor mount screws, because they need to be longer. Let's go ahead and drop it in, I suppose. So remember, your motor is going to be facing forward now. Kind of hard to tell with this guy, but the pivot point is your rear. Also, your wires come out the rear, so forward is up here. The motor's going to go just like this. We can go and throw our drive shafts in. Let's see. Let's actually do our wire first. We'll just run this guy through here. Let's see, probably through the front side. Since we have the wires for the skid, I'm going to run it through the front like so. Probably put our ESC right up here. Let's go ahead and drop this guy in a little bit. And then we can do our drive shaft. Now that our wire's in there, and you can just set this guy in. And make sure you phase your drive shafts. That means getting the ears lined up, and that'll help prevent vibration. Do we want to do our links first? Yeah. So here we will use the hardware they included for our links. Then we'll do our drive shaft again. So we're just going to do this set of links because we're moving around too much. Drive shaft keeps falling out. All right, we've got all of our lower links in. Go ahead and get our drive shafts in. Did one side, and then we're going to do the other. One thing that I noticed, this hardware is black hardware. So for anybody who has built a lot of these trucks, a lot of the hardware that comes with aftermarket stuff is silver, and finding the black hardware, it's almost impossible. It only comes on like the stock truck. So very cool that Furitek is including black hardware, because I wouldn't want silver bolts sticking out there. That's just me being OCD or anal, I suppose. Get drive shaft in phase, and now we can get our skid locked in with our boat sliders. Yeah, black hardware, very cool. Although, funny enough, these skid bolts are not black, and that's the axial hardware. These are very specialized bolts though, so maybe they're not easy to get in black. I don't know. So we'll line this guy up. Actually, these don't slide all the way, these don't go all the way through like that. Nope, these are just going to use these smaller bolts that were included. Nice. Boom. And boom. But don't over tighten those. We're going into aluminum. So you will break off the bolt in there if you're not careful. And our last one. Since they're going through plastic, they feel like you can tighten them down quite a bit. And I kind of feel like they're snug in there. It's just pushing the plastic. It's deforming the plastic a little bit. So again, don't over tighten. Just make sure that you're snug enough and you should be good. All right, that transition's not too bad. Wish it was a little bit smoother, but the chassis rail is what's causing the difference there, but it'll be fine. Would have been nice maybe if they, when they made the skid, it would have cost a lot more to mill, but they could have brought this part over the chassis rail so that it was a perfect transition. That would have been pretty slick. Either way, I do like this skid. Should be good. It lowers everything. Look at that motor. It just barely has room in there. You can just barely see the light through there. Let's see, when we compress, if we compress all the way, the drive shaft just barely touches under full compression, but I'm kind of forcing it. Yeah, that's nothing to worry about. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay. Let's get our ESC up here mounted. We're probably just going to throw it right here. Obviously, up high is not ideal. You can try to throw it in here if you wanted, but then you have nowhere to plug in your battery or your motor, excuse me. Try to face it like that. Gets it a little lower. Reroute your wires a little bit. Actually, nope, just kidding, because the body mount goes there. Yeah, this is the best place. If you were to chop up this chassis, you could probably fit it much better. But again, we're just going for the stock setup, right? So this is going to be perfect. And our motor wire, so we're going to mount it like this. That'll put us like so. Yeah, and we'll just kind of clean this up, and we'll be back. You know, it'd be nice for Furitek to include with their ESCs, and they already are fantastic, but if they included mounting tape, that'd be amazing, because then you wouldn't need anything extra at all. Because right now, if you want to mount this guy, you need a way to mount it. So some servo tape, double-sided sticky tape, whatever is required to mount this guy so it doesn't move around. But if they included some, just like a little tiny piece that fit on the bottom of this guy, or it was already on there and you could just peel it off and stick it, oh, that'd be pretty slick. If you're listening, Furitek, that might be a nice little feature to add to future product lines for the ESCs specifically. Let's just get this guy nice and tucked. Boom. Yeah. All right. We're going to do a little twisty here. And then actually, okay, that cleans up that. Looks like our servo wire here has the little tab. I don't know if you can see that. That little ledge. And the Spectrum ESC does not. So we're going to have to trim this guy off. And that's all it takes. Just a little bit of trim. And we should be good now. Ta-da! Okay. We're not using our motor or battery there. Doesn't matter if this is on or off at all. It's going to power through here. And there we go. Bam. Where's our remote? Oh, buddy, look, you see it? It's moving. It's actually moving. If you don't believe me, there's the motor spinning away. Man, that's so smooth. I mean, you're not getting that with a brush setup. check the wheel speed. Oh yeah. She goes. Talk about a massive, massive, massive improvement. I should have shown you before we installed the motor. It's just so squishy, and like your slow speed, slow crawl is no bueno. That is amazing. And it's not going to stop, right? Like, it's just torque. It's just not going to stop. It's just going to go straight up a wall. Too fun, too fun. Alrighty guys, I just wanted to show this little setup now and figured we'd use some crawler tracks obstacles. This is a new one they call the Pipeline, and they make a ton of really cool stuff. I'll post a link to one of the videos up in the top corner. You can check it out, but they make awesome little laser cut wood indoor courses that are pretty dang affordable with tons of options, and they're very modular. They've got a really cool ball pit coming, like a mud pit using airsoft BBs. Pretty slick. But yeah, look at this guy crawl. And that's just in slow mode, right? The nice thing about the Furitek setup is that there's FOC, which means I don't have to change my throttle position, and the truck goes up resistance. So when you come up against resistance, normally with like a brushed motor, you have to give it more throttle. See, I just came up against resistance right there. You have to give it more throttle to push the tire up over that resistance. But with FOC, it's like a speed control. Basically, your trigger finger now becomes more of an actual speed control versus a amount of power control, right? Because the problem with an amount of power type of control is you hit that resistance, you're giving it a lot more throttle, and then when that resistance breaks, the truck jumps, right? Like it does this jump thing as you break over the resistance point. So you're like throttling it, giving it more and more throttle, and then as it starts to break over, oh, it goes, you know, it just breaks free, and all that power now is transferred into forward motion. Whereas with the FOC, you basically just give it the same throttle and it just crawls. It just goes over, no problems. Pretty slick. And we've got tons of wheel speed still, right? Like, we can crawl fast if we want. That's only like quarter throttle. So definitely digging this setup. Such a cool setup. For sure, for sure. I love it, guys. So let me go ahead and throw up some of the other courses real quick. And something I've done before is I've taken stuff like the frame bender, we call them comb pieces or feet, and because it's got extra slots in it, and I'm able to and I'll even switch around the pipeline pieces sometimes and just get this crazy kind of topography going, which is kind of fun that, again, they kind of all can mix and match together a little bit, which is really cool. And you can get that transition from the pipes to the rocks. It's pretty fun to try to do that. And just figure out different ways to kind of, we dropped in, to figure out how to set them up. And I don't know, I have a blast with it. We don't have our other foot on here. We should probably do that. There we go. Now that's a little more stable. Whoa, fell down in the crack. Pretty awesome though, guys. And I just wanted to show you it real quick running. Again, this one's not one of the most difficult. It's probably one of the easier obstacles. But again, it's cool because you can mix it up, and there's a lot more you can do with changing where the pipes are. You can even, I mean, it doesn't look appropriate, but it still can make it fun. You swap out like a middle piece here and a middle piece there, and it totally changes the topography in these pieces. Or like I said, use some of the other obstacle parts and they'll slot right in there, and you can really get some kind of cool stuff. If you pop this out, you know, this middle one, do some frame bender pieces. I don't know. Get kind of crazy with it. Mind you, you start to lose stability, and if you end up breaking a piece, I guess that's your problem. You broke it. But yeah, you can do some craziness like that. Yeah, buddy. Definitely changes up the obstacle. Oh, dang it. Fell down in the hole again. Anyway, you get the point. And here we go with just the frame bender. And again, we don't set it up how you're supposed to set it up. We like to do all kinds of craziness, move the slats around and whatnot. There's a hole right here. So, trying to avoid that. Well, and I get the rear in there. Come on now, come on now. I'm horrible. Oh my god, I'm horrible. It's not the truck's fault. It's me not paying attention. I'm also messing with the rear steer. I kind of wish these servos had a little bit more power. See, that rear just doesn't want to turn. There you go. Gotta force it. Needs more power. Needs more power. Alright, let's do one more. This guy is called the Wave, obviously. It's kind of an articulation tester. And look how slow you can go. I mean, that's just insane, right? Like, that is, the motor's in there moving. I can go even slower. You can see the motor in there moving. It's so nuts. Can I go even slower? Oh, yeah. There you go. Starts to cog a little bit, but like, that's so slow. There you go. Wow, that's insane, guys. All right, pretty nuts. I mean, look at that. I mean, I don't think a lot of people realize just how slow the motor goes. And again, I don't have to give it more throttle when it hits that resistance. It just goes up it. If I would give it more throttle, then we move faster, obviously. But it's not just like, it's controllable throttle. Like, I haven't changed my throttle position at all at this speed. I'm still holding it in the exact same spot. I haven't changed any part of my finger. And it just crawls. So nuts. I'm sitting here busy watching the screen and not where I'm actually driving. Anyway, you get my point. It's just absolutely crazy how smooth and controllable the throttle is. Any sort of that jumping that you're seeing, that little bit of jumping, that's play in the axles. That's not the motor. That's play that's causing it to, like, when it kind of moves like that. See, that's play in the drivetrain. So that's not the motor. That right there is a little bit of the motor, but we haven't tuned this guy at all. So definitely check out the Bluetooth app. It's the Furicar app. It's got all the different settings. It's pretty slick. So here's the Furicar app. I can show you real quick. It just gives you all of your different throttle curve, and then all your different running settings. It's not focusing, sorry. But I've got a video on this guy that goes through all the different settings, all the stuff. You can check it out right over here. Yeah, we haven't calibrated anything. You definitely want to calibrate. Set your 0 speed. Set your full speed. Set your reverse or brake. And then now you can see we're set at 0. So that's going to help a lot. But stuff like that, you just want to go through and change the different settings on it and whatnot. But definitely check out the video that we posted up in the corner. It'll tell you exactly what you need to do to set all this stuff up and what everything does. I hope you enjoyed the video of this little guy. The installation was super, super easy. I mean, pretty much anybody can do it. If you're in this hobby, you should be able to install this motor, no problem. It fits in there nice and tight. Again, no soldering, no cutting, no having to make space, nothing crazy. Straight drop in and plug in, and it totally changes the way the rig handles and feels. I mean, it takes it from, you know, just a basic entry level, barely hobby grade type RC, at least how it feels, to like a true performer. It's amazing. If you've never done brushless and you have an AX24, this is the system to go with. It just drops right in there. You can't ask for it to be any easier, really. So yeah, make sure you guys like, subscribe, share, and hit that notification bell. We really appreciate that. On all the videos that you do like, make sure you share them with people that may be asking questions that those videos can answer. If someone's asking about a brushless drop-in for the AX, it'd be awesome if you shared this video with them. We love to help people. We love to answer questions. We answer every single comment on our videos so far. Every single comment on our channel has been answered, and that is quite the task. We're not going to be able to do it forever, especially as we grow, but we definitely try to respond to everybody. We also have a channel member program, which down below you can find a join button. And that basically lets you view videos early before anybody else with no ads in front of them. Also, you get priority replies in comments. So when we do grow, if I can't reply to everybody, all the channel members will definitely get replies. Also, the higher tiers get extra bonuses and extra perks and whatnot. So definitely check that out if you want to help support the channel. That stuff really helps us in being able to bring stuff like this to you guys. We do get some sponsorships from different companies, but you know, a lot of the stuff we buy ourselves. So you know, that channel membership really helps us get the newest stuff as soon as possible to show to everybody. Also, we're huge in having you guys get your hands in there and build something, and don't be afraid. So make sure you build a car, build a course, build a community, help spread the love of RC, and then crash it, smash it, and bash it, but don't break the expensive parts.